So it's a little windy today. Hopefully you'll be able to hear me. But today's topic is going to be looking at this antenna again. So if you watched my first video a while ago, you'll see how I set everything up, and the radio portion worked really well. So I'll just show you the radio real quick to see how that's working out. So here's the radio up here. This is the Uniden 520XL. And I'm very happy with this radio. It's very small and it works very well. It's got a nice signal, and I enjoy it. The only thing that I don't like is it's kind of hard to see at night, but I already know what all the knobs do, so I never have to actually look at them. But right now the screws that I had originally in there fell out, so it's just zip tied back up there and it's fine. I kind of like it because now it's farther back. As for the radio microphone, it just sits there and it does great. I love this spot. This is a beautiful spot right here. You just pop it on, pop it off, and I like it a lot. So that's the radio portion. Now let me show you what's new with the antenna. So this setup right here is a 4-foot FireStik II, which is the regular FireStik, but it has a tunable tip on it. And I also have their heavy-duty spring and their door jamb mount. Now, I've had some issues with the mount, but that was more me mounting it terribly than the mount's fault. They provide you with 4 screws, and I screwed it into the base with the 4 screws, but the problem was the sheet metal is too flimsy. And with this heavy spring and this heavy antenna, it ripped it out within a month of bouncing around. So I welded it, but I welded it so it was facing this way. And the problem with that was now it was catching trees, so it would catch a tree and bend the thing back. So I bent it back, and then I caught another tree and bent it back. It ripped the cable out of the tip and just messed some other shit up. So I wasn't happy with that. So I'm like, fuck it. And I did a shitty job stick welding, and that's the first problem. I only had a stick welder, and I didn't paint the other side, so it rusted through. So I cut all this metal out, put a whole new piece of sheet metal in to fix up the body, and I mounted the antenna as you see now, and I MIG welded it. I MIG welded all the way around. I did the outside, and I filled in all the holes and grinded it down smooth, and now that motherfucker's solid. She ain't going anywhere. So I'm happy with the mount. Only problem is with this thick antenna, it's still, no matter how tight you fucking tighten these things, they always slip back. So I put a new antenna PL259 connector on here, and now my issue is with it hitting the body. I had a tennis ball here and a tennis ball here to help it not hit the body so much, but the problem is the trees rip the tennis balls off and they take the antenna cap with it. Well, the last time the antenna was whipping around and it just comes around and just hits the back of the window, and after hitting the window about 3 or 4 times with it missing the cap, it blew the whole window out, so I had to replace the window. So I'm not happy with this antenna spring combination. This is the heavy duty spring and it's not stiff enough for me. And if I were to leave without the spring, all the trees would just break these antennas right in half. So I need something a little different. So I looked online. I figured maybe I'd try and stick with FireStik. So I got their Firefly antenna. Now this one is basically the same as a FireStik II, but they use a thinner diameter. So this is more flexible-ish. Now if you notice, that's pushing kind of hard. That's not a lot of deflection there. But if you look at the rod thickness here, it's a little bit thinner. Not by much. And I figured I'd try and get the 3-foot version, that way the trees don't knock it as much. But I'm not happy with the flex. This is still very rigid, and it's going to rely completely on the spring for bending. So my friend had a K40 that I was quite jealous of, so I looked online and found myself a Wilson Flex. This is their 4-foot flex model, and well, here, take a look. And that's pushing about as hard as I was with the FireStik, and it bends more. If I had a hand on each side, this thing bends like a charm. Look at that. And it keeps going. This thing is flexible. this is what I'm looking for, something like this. Now, their tips are a little bit different than the FireStiks. This is a rod that you just move up and down, and it's got that little hex screw on there. Unlike those, which are hand tunable. But sometimes the screws come loose, so I don't know. Anyway, this also comes with a separate ground wire if you need it. I'll have to check the instructions. I don't know if you're required to put it or if it'll help or what's up with that, but I'm going to swap this antenna in and show you how it be. But just for demonstration, here's the antenna. This is what it's like when it bounces around. Bend it back halfway. So you can see this thing just whips all around, and it's just not pretty at all. It just does that. And it's pretty annoying, especially when it starts hitting the body and just tank, 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 tank. So this spring ain't enough for this 4-foot. Might do okay on a 3-foot, but I don't know. So let's take this shit off. If you can't get your spring off, get yourself some vice grips and grab the bottom ring of the spring, and then you'll knock her free. Because there's nothing to really grab it by. Okay, so here's the antenna on here. There's like a little rubber O-ring looking thing down there, so I guess you're not supposed to tighten it too much. I don't know if that's supposed to keep it from contacting the base or something like that. In the instructions, it tells you to not hook up this ground wire at first and make sure that you don't need it. There's something to do with the tuning that changes if you have a bad antenna mount ground. And then down here, it tells you that if you can't get at least a 2-to-1, then you can connect the lead to the mount, and it'll drop the impedance. They also include an Allen key for you to adjust. So anyway, make sure that the cap is on there, because I believe the cap helps from static interference from the atmosphere or something like that. So with that on there, let's go hook up our SWR meter. Alright, now the fun part. You're going to want an SW meter for this. This is a real cheap one I got online. It's just a Workman meter. It's got 2 ports on the back, one that comes from the antenna and another one that goes to the transmitter. And you just got forward and reflect on here, and then an adjustment dial. So you want to hook this into your antenna system somewhere. I'm going to do it next to the radio, and then I'll show you how to get an SWR reading. I got my my CB set to channel 1. I got the RF gain down just enough that nothing's showing up on there, and squelch all the way down, volume up a little bit. So for this meter, you take the calibration knob, turn it all the way counterclockwise. You're going to put it on forward. You're going to key the mic, which means hitting the button like you were going to talk. And you squeeze the trigger and set the calibration knob so that it reads set. This is hard to do one-handed. So once you do that, flip it to reflect. So this is your SWR meter, your SWR reading. So we get a little bit there. Now you do the same thing for channel 40. I'll show you what mine is. So here's channel 40. It's already calibrated. And if you notice, that swings all the way up to 2.1. That's not acceptable. So the way that we fix that, there's a little trick that you can remember. You compare channel 1 to channel 40. If channel 1 is low, lower than 40, you need to lower the tip. If channel 1 is high, you need to heighten or raise the tip. So we're going to take that cap off again, and we're going to lower that little adjustment tip down like 1/8, 1/4 of an inch, and then check both readings again and see if we can get them even. Now also, if you notice, I'm right above power lines and next to a house. This isn't exactly the best place you want to do this at, but it's better than nothing, and at least you can check and make sure your antenna isn't above 3, because after that you've got major issues. So at least I got something decent. So something interesting, my tip doesn't go any lower. So I can't push that in anymore. So I'll try running it without the tip and see if that's any better. Don't forget to put your cap on. It's a tight fit, that's for sure. So here's channel 1. Barely moves at all. And here's channel 40. So if you notice, we got a 1-to-1 and a 1.4. So at this point, channel 1 is still low, and I can't make the antenna go any lower. Unless I start trimming that tip and putting it down. I don't know if that would help at all or not. So I don't know. I'll have to look around and see what I can do with this. The FireStik did tune quite well. I was very happy with the tune on that. So, time for another flex test. So, I took the other one and bent it back about halfway, and I'll bend this one down even more just because. Look at that. Kind of bounces around, no big deal. Look at that. Look at that. Doesn't want to hit the fucking thing at all. There it goes. Wow, that is awesome. I'll show you guys what the mount looks like. A little bit of stress, but that's amazing. So if a tree were to sit at roof level, hit this thing, knock it down, just whom. That is amazing. Oh yes, that is so much better. Don't have to fear for my windows anymore. Right there. There's your Wilson 4-foot flex. Now, from what I've heard, because this is a thinner diameter and whatever it's made out of, it's got slightly less communication length. That came out terribly. It doesn't go as far as some antennas. Like a 4-foot FireStik supposedly should outperform a 4-foot Wilson Flex. Now the wire that they use on the antenna is silver coated to try and lower resistance, I guess, to help it push out a little farther. But I don't know. I'll let you know. But most of my friends are real close anyway, so we're within line of sight. So that shouldn't really be an issue. Now, if you want to keep everything safe, get yourself some packing tape and just put it all in there. You notice we got the Allen key, the set screw, the antenna tip, and the cutoff wire. So, 2 things to be useful. First off, I cut it and left about 1 inch of wire, so that way I'll have enough if I ever have to change mounts or ever use it, which I doubt. And at the top, I have a zip tie sitting on that cap, because these caps are very good at falling off. But there you go. That's a whole Wilson Flex install right there, folks, and I'm pretty happy with this. This is much better than my FireStik thing. If you're going through deep trees, this is what you want. Yeah. Doesn't hit the truck at all. By the time it actually starts wobbling, it's actually bending with the angle of the truck. So even spinning that around like that, look at that. Does not hit it. But be warned, it will put a little extra stress on the mouse, so just know that. So there you go. 4-foot Wilson Flex. I'm quite excited about that.